What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's get a little spicy because when I tell you it's a lot going on down in Atlanta, my God, on the day. Yeah, it's a lot. So let's get into it. All right, y'all. So let's get into this video. Now, I want to start off with K Michelle. And mind you, I was not going to talk about her. Like, I have a list of people who I want to discuss, and she was not on there. But then I saw a couple of tweets that she posted, as well as Portia did an interview with Carlos King, and Portia talked about K Michelle. And I want to get into that because it does pertain to my thoughts about her behavior. Okay. So, how this situation started was with these series of tweets. So, I think it was OMFG Reality TV posted a preview of the first like 5 or 6 minutes of episode 5, which will be premiering this coming Sunday. Because I think episode 4 is what aired last Sunday. Okay. And Kimpire, I'm pretty sure a lot of people know him, but if you don't know him, he is a YouTuber, has a pretty substantial following, and he does reviews as well as talks about pop culture. He saw the clip and retweeted it with the statement saying this: K Michelle has no prenup with Dr. Cashton, hashtag RHOA. Because in that preview, you hear the ladies discussing while they're on a private jet about like their relationships and things of that nature. And then K Michelle admits that she does not have a prenup with Cashton. So K Michelle quote tweets Kimpire because I guess she felt some type of way and said, "And do you?" And I said, "Okay, girl, that wasn't that deep for you to respond, but all right." So then after that, she totally decided to let the chopper swing. And she says this: "Shut the FUCK up. I'm literally so annoyed and sick of all y'all asses. Sit around and talk all day. I'm done with the shenanigans. I'm not an OG. I do not give an FUCK. I am K Michelle. I will speak as I want, tweet as I want, and marry who the FUCK I want. I've been through hell with this man. None of you will validate what we are. I said what I said." So once she released that tweet, a lot of people had a lot of things to say. So this Twitter user by the name of Mr. Stop It I Say says, "And there's that love and hip hop flavor I just knew you would bring," with the upside down smiling face emoji, so you know it was shady. And then they go on to say, "Bring King your right mother effing back at Bravo TV." So K Michelle responded back to this person by saying this: "Is that supposed to be an insult? Because that one's played out also. That show gave me my opportunity and I'll always respect it. Funny how y'all racist towards your own people. You can cut the SHIT over here with me, though through every mean attacking tweet you send, I see right through it with compassion. It's obvious to everyone here you don't like yourself, or maybe your mother doesn't like you. Either way, I love me. It's a part of my story. K, have a blessed day." So that person responded back to K Michelle by saying, "If it's so played out, why didn't you ignore me? First two sentences, I'm out. I stopped reading because what?" And then another person jumped into the conversation by saying, "Lost me at racist to your own people." And then this person followed up by saying, "I didn't even read all of that. I'm just realizing she even took it there." So she didn't stop there, but she gave us another tweet that says, "I'm in my K Michelle era. I do not desire to be liked or fit in anywhere. I've been me. You can tweet me all day. You can just block me. I don't lie. I don't play games. I see everything in truth. I'm sensitive, not stupid. I'm giving you a human experience. Opinions are welcome, but not in actual consideration, okay?" And then the final tweet was, "Okay, now on another note, are blue cheese olives really necessary in a dirty martini?" So that was K Michelle's tweets. I want to show you guys a clip that was posted by Jay's reality blog of Portia talking to Carlos King, where they discussed her relationship with K Michelle as well as K Michelle's beef with Drew. So let me bring that up for you guys.
Where we saw the episode end and it seemed like y'all hugged it out, everything's good, but then the tweets started to happen afterwards where she sort of is doubling down on she doesn't trust you. What do you have to say about that?
I think that's another situation where someone has decided that this is the route they need to take. I don't think this is a route that K Michelle needs to take or has to take. I think it's a wrong road. But at the end of the day, if you have been watching the show and then you are finally on the show, you decide this is how you're going to enter, this is how I'll make my mark, then it is what it is. This is the game she decides to play. And I only say that because whether or not, and I will say, when I said it to her, I had first asked her, was it okay? Did she want to openly speak about her situation? Number two, the reason why I asked her did she want to speak about it on camera is because I didn't know specifically what it was. No one told us. Even when I texted K Michelle prior to that scene at the nail shop, I was like, hey, you in the hospital? You know, are you okay? She said, oh yeah, you know, I had to have a procedure or whatever. She never told me what it was for. So I had no idea which part of her was, you know, a problem. I had no idea. So, of course, as a woman, I know we making TV. It is what it is. I'm not going to just sit here and start asking her about what she was in the hospital for, what procedure, if she's not ready. So I wanted to first say, hey, are you good talking about it? Because at the end of the day, I don't care if this is our job to speak about personal stuff or not. I don't care if she talked about it in a scene with her doctor on camera or not. If I then need to pivot the conversation away from specifics, I'm gonna do that. But she said, yeah, I'm okay, yeah. And she proceeded to tell us what was going on. Unfortunately, she was burying the lead. I mean, she went on to the story for a while before she even mentioned it was her bottom. During that time, you know, we're standing there and I'm like, oh, what she was describing mirrored what I had been through. You're sitting there in a pool of fluid. Same thing happened to me prior to having Pilar. Pilar's my rainbow baby. But I had a miscarriage at home by myself, woke up, same thing. So I was like, oh, so it came to mind, was it a miscarriage? Right after that, she giggled and said, girl, I thought the same thing. We moved on with the conversation. She continued to describe more fluid that did not have blood. Cynthia then said, like your water broke? We're women. All of us are in a trusted space. We all have uteruses, vaginas. We're talking about things that we all have been through. We're all trying to relate to her for her to open up and, you know, talk about what she's got going on. So in that moment, I didn't feel anything. I didn't, you know, think that anything had offended her. It wasn't until I met with her at the lunch table and she was like, oh, what's when you said miscarriage? I was taken back, you know, like, oh my God, how could you think that I would, you know, try to offend you or, you know, call you out or even, oh my God, make fun of you about a miscarriage? And I could have gone on like, well, how could you think? But I said, you know what? Respect how she feels. Whether she thinks I meant it, whether I did not mean it, whatever my intentions were, this is how she feels. So in that moment, I said to her, I apologize. Forget my excuse of, oh, I have been through before, because none of that fucking matters. If you genuinely feel like what I said offended you, okay, I hear you. And I'll never do that again. I'll be careful and make sure that I temper or wait till you go ahead and say what was going on. So in that moment, I felt like we handled that conversation very adult, very mature. And I remember telling her at that lunch table, I said to her, what I want to do with you, I want to show you how I friend. And I'm not saying that I friend better than her, but I wanted to give her a different experience in Atlanta because she had cried to me about being in Atlanta and having a friendship group, which was from Loving Hip Hop, and they treated her wrong and they ran out of here and they were so unfair to her. And I told her that day she told me that story, and I told her that day at that lunch table, I said, I know what you've been through, and I know what triggers you have. I know you could be sensitive. I said, I want you to know I'm not that girl. And the people who I have around you, Cynthia and Phaedra, we're not those girls. I am the type of person, I want to protect my friend, I want to be there for you, and I'm genuine. So I told her, I'm going to show you how I friend. And the way we're having this conversation right now, I appreciate you coming to me, let's talk about it. I also want to talk to you. Now, at the time, I had no idea she had done a whole scene with Pinky and a scene with Cynthia, calling me dumb and a this and a that. I was like, oh, goodness.
When you watched it for the first time, how did it make you feel?
So when I watched K Michelle her punishment was too hard for what she called the crime. I said, okay. I picked up my phone and I texted her. Because that's how I am. Ask Candy. Ask anybody. Ask Sheree. If you do, I'm going to text right away as I'm watching the show. And I said, hey, I just want you to know, I'm watching the show, and I see that you still didn't feel, or you were still upset with, me speaking to you about the situation. I said, I want you to know I am sincere, and that I never would have wanted to offend you about that. When I spoke with Shamia, she never told me any detail. You never told me anything of a detail of your bottom. I never would have done that, and I just want you to know from my heart, even though I saw her call me all them names, I was like, fuck all that. Let me make her as a woman understand that at the root of it, I never would have made fun of you. She said, okay, I truly appreciate that, etc. And, I appreciate you reiterating that you didn't know her, blah, blah. So I said, okay, cool. Put the phone down, we were done. Oh my God, the next day, she's tweeting saying, oh, well, what if you was to die? What you doubling down? I was like, okay, I see what I'm dealing with. And listen, I don't want to go too hard on K Michelle. I'll just say this. In general, as a person, in any space, you could be at work, it could be a family member, it could be a friend. If you're in any group and you are talking to somebody and they don't have a heart to understand you, they don't want to understand you, it could be for whatever reason, ratings or want to be right or just want to see what's wrong, they're never going to understand. They're never going to actually say out loud, oh, I understand, because they're too busy trying to do something else, whatever that else may be. So I said, okay, cool. So at this point, I know what else happens in the season, and although she's funny and she's adorable, I don't know how it's going to go over. I don't think that what was happening with her and Drew is going to go over as well as maybe she thinks it will. I don't. And I think, if I'm being honest, I think that when she looks back at this first season, she'll probably be like, oh, I probably chose the wrong team. And I probably should have gone about things in a more authentic way.
You think the team that she chose in the Shamia, Pinky,
I don't know, because I wasn't privy to those conversations. Okay. I wasn't, I'm not a part of it. You know what I mean? Right. But I think that she is a cool girl, but Housewives isn't that. Housewives, at the root of what our fans want to see, back in the day when you were producing this show, It's about what's honest. And if you're talking to someone, we wish somebody would apologize to us back in the day. We used to be like, damn, can you just apologize? Can you just understand you hurt my feelings? And you still wouldn't get an apology, or whatever it was. And if you had an issue with somebody, it was a real damn issue. Like, and you felt it. You really felt it. And so that's what this is. It's not like little knick-knack, paddywhack, let me just drag this bitch for a bone. No. We used to have, you know what I'm saying? We used to have real stuff going on. So when it comes to like the audience looking at the show and they're like, she said she was sorry. Even if she did do it, she apologized and you still riding it. This looks like you're trying to drag it. This looks like you're doing the most. And so, but it's her first season. She was already an established star. She will be a star far beyond this show. She will have a great career on the show. I just think that this season will probably be a learning lesson for me.
So here's the thing. I decided to do the tweets and then the video all together before giving my thoughts, mainly because I feel like I was going to be repeating myself and I didn't want to do all of that. But here's the thing. I honestly feel as though K. Michelle is entitled to her feelings, her opinions, her thoughts, etc. She's also entitled to clap back at people who are disrespecting her or if she feels like they're being shady to her. But with that being said, when I saw these tweets and then I saw that clip of Portia's interview with Carlos King, all it told me is that more than likely K. Michelle is going to have a rough season when it comes to people's commentary about her online, because K is too reactionary to people having critiques about her behavior and about choices that she's made in her life. People like questioning or making comments about you not having a prenup with your husband should not have caused you to crash out, telling people to shut the F up and telling people to kiss your ass and all that stuff. Like, it wasn't that deep. And honestly, that is like low hanging fruit in the world of housewives. I mean, I'm questioning why you don't have a prenup. You make all this money. You've been in this game for this long. You think every man is going to cheat on you or does cheat. Why would you not get a prenup with Cashton? That's dumb to me. Like, that doesn't make sense. So people having those critiques is regular commentary when it comes to Bravo. But you going off in such a way and then saying, I don't care about what people have to say to me, I'm in my K. Michelle era, you do. You do. Puddin', Kimberly, K. Michelle, K, you do have an issue with the way people talk about you. So you're contradicting yourself. And what I think is happening is K. Michelle was very hurt at the fact that there was a outcry about her being a part of this show. If you've seen the Jason Lee interview, you can tell that lady was in her feelings. Her feelings were hurt and she was angry. And I think that has made her very sensitive to people's critiques of her, especially from the Real Housewives of Atlanta fan base. And anything that anybody says that rubs her the wrong way, she feels the need to say something. And that is going to backfire on her greatly because we don't like when housewives talk too much, even when they're right. Even when they're right, people can't stand it. The people like people can't take it. And I don't think K. Michelle understands that. I feel as though she came into this show thinking that she was going to be somewhat safeguarded because she already has a name for herself and that her fans were going to take up for her, which that is happening. But I don't think she understands that, girl, you're pitting other fan bases against your one fan base. You already are going up against Portia, because a lot of people felt like the way in which that situation between you and her last episode, it was the way you went about it. A lot of people had issues with it. I understood, but a lot of people did not like it. Now you're about to go against Drew. I don't know what Drew's fans are called, Sidoraettes or, Sidorians, but they're going to defend her. And it's not going to matter that you are K. Michelle, the R&B music star. All they see is K. Michelle being on the same show, arguing with their fave. That's it. That's all. And I'm hoping that K. Michelle eventually gets off the internet when it comes to the show. I know I have a rule for myself where I only speak about the show for maybe 48 hours until new information comes back on my timeline on Twitter. And then I let it go because I'm not about to get my dander all up about these people. I don't know. So moving on, let's talk about Pinky Cole. So Pinky Cole was on Watch What Happens Live last Sunday night with RHOA from Real Housewives of Rhode Island. And there were a few clips that I wanted to get into. But before we get into the clips, I want to talk about what was posted by Jay's reality blog. So Pinky was playing this game where there were a bunch of serving dishes in front of her with the cast members' names on them. And Andy would ask her a question, and then based off of who she picked, the serving dish would pop up. So let's get into what she said. So the tweet starts off like this, saying, from Pinky Cole on Watch What Happens Live. Biggest ego, Drew. Most likely to throw a friend under the bus, Shamia. Who Derek likes and gets along with the most, K. Michelle. Least welcoming, Angela. Who will have the most grievances at the reunion, her bankruptcies. Greatest ride or die friend, K. Michelle. Most skeletons in closet, Phaedra. Least trustworthy, Phaedra. Someone she would like to avoid crossing, Cynthia. Most money in the bank, herself. And who will be in the tabloid headlines next, Kelly. So several things that I found interesting with this list is, one, no mention of Portia. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, or does that foreshadow that there might be something between Pinky and Portia. I do think that I would say that Portia has the biggest ego, not Drew, but I mean, Drew does have an ego. Okay. The one statement that really, or answer that really caught me by surprise, is that she said that Shamia was most likely to throw a friend under the bus. And that surprised me with all this talk about how the group, as the season continues on, we're going to see them be divided, where you either are team Portia or team Shamia, where you have Angela, Phaedra, Portia, Drew, and Cynthia on one side, and then you have Shamia, Kelly, K. Michelle, and Pinky on another side. And even in the clip that I showed you guys beforehand, you have Portia saying that, K. Michelle might think once the season wraps that she was on the wrong team. So that clearly kind of gives validity to there being a divide. And I do remember Portia saying that the group was somewhat divided, but they tried to come together in the end and things kind of shaked out okay. And then she also said that they weren't going to allow one bad apple to poison the bunch. And I wonder if this is a way of saying that Shamia was the one that was poisoning the group, because it is interesting that Pinky would say her. So next, let's talk about a couple of questions that was asked of Pinky by Andy on Watch What Happens Live. The first one being about her bankruptcy. So it says this: Pinky Cole continues to open up about bankruptcy, telling her husband and her home. And then they did the hashtags for the shows, but let me pull that up for you guys.
Vulnerability and honesty about this whole bankruptcy situation. What made you wait to tell your husband?
Because I ain't want no problems, Andy.
Right.
I did not want no problems. Okay, my baby daddy pays the bills, okay?
Okay.
And the reality of it is I'm just so independent, right? Like, before I met Derek, I had my own. While I'm with him, I got my own. And I just didn't want to be his burden. I don't want to be nobody's victim.
There were headlines recently about your home and about a whole bunch of stuff. What can you tell us that's going on now?
Well, first of all, that was not my primary home.
Okay.
It was a rental property, okay, because I have something
Love
called
to hear
a
it.
portfolio.
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
And that property, it was abandoned, so, they deemed it abandoned. So
Okay,
it took the
maybe
lot.
Angela will use it as an investment property.
She probably actually could sell it and get a
Yes,
cut of it,
right.
She could give me a brokerage fee.
Yes.
But I ended up getting that property back. As you can see, my primary home is beautiful. We live in a country club, all of the bells and whistles, and, I'm in a really good place right now. It's been difficult, but I'm just navigating.
What an emotional...
I have way more thoughts about this, and I'm going to expound upon it further in my review for the latest episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta. But what I will say is, Pinky, to me, is trying too hard to try to act as if her man is, the creme de la creme, like he got her back. But for him to offer you the money for your bankruptcy and you not to take it, that to me screams that you don't really trust him all the way. Honestly, you going around telling everybody except him also screams to me that you don't trust him, or you don't feel as if he has your back completely. And I get not wanting to be a burden, but the purpose of getting married in my mind is that you share the flack or you share burdens together. So the fact that you feel like you had to stomach all of that on your own tells me that you don't really feel safe or that secure with him. And that's just that. So moving on. The next clip I want to play for you guys is going to be RHOA from Real Housewives of Rhode Island, as well as Pinky, basically answering questions about how their lives have changed since being a part of Real Housewives.
Are you, what's life like in Rhode Island since the show premiered?
Life has just been busy. Lots of fans, lots of people excited for us, which I love. We appreciate our fans. And, you know, there's always gossip.
Yeah.
Because it's Rhode Island.
Pinky, how's life as a housewife been for you so far?
You know, it is the same.
Yeah.
You know, I was super popular before Housewives. So, you know, I've been that girl before this. So it's the same. Life is life.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is called a Real Housewife. Guy.
So the reason why I wanted to play that clip for you guys is because it's interesting to see how people are reacting to Pinky. It seems like a lot of people are like, either they really like her or they don't. I have seen people that are in between, but it's very like, I like Pinky, or, oh, I can't stand Pinky. I'm in the middle. I really, like, you know, the jury is still out on her as of yet. But for the most part, she seems fine. I do understand that she has a lot of controversies with herself, and she's a very polarizing figure in Atlanta. So maybe that is what I am seeing, is people who already knew of her and have preconceived notions about her, or who have issues with her, who've patroned her business and stuff like that. But as someone who's never ate a slutty vegan, and I have heard things about her, I'm trying to give her like a fresh like slate, like a clean slate or whatever. And for the most part, she seems fine to me. But I can understand why people don't like her. But it was interesting to see Andy be giddy by her responses to things. It seems like he does really like her and is impressed by her resume. So that kind of makes me feel like she might be here for a while, even if the fans don't like her. So the last thing I want to talk about as it pertains to Pinky is this transcript of her being on Two T's in a Pod. And shouts out to Jay's reality blog. I didn't know that she did an interview with them. I don't really frequent Two T's in a Pod unless somebody posts about it online. And here we are. So it says this, some bits from Pinky's interview on TWOTS. It says her and Angela have more in common than they don't, should have more conversations than they don't, says there's nothing wrong with healthy banter. So I guess she really doesn't have like a huge problem with Angela. So that gives us hope that they might become cool, you know, next season if Pinky returns back or if Angela's contract is renewed. So it goes on to say, building her company is more stressful than filming Housewives. Would trust Phaedra the least to invest in her business. Everyone was welcoming and nice to her. She's closest to K. Michelle on camera and off camera. Says Portia lives in her own beautiful state of delusion. Understands where K. Michelle was coming from with the miscarriage comment. Feels Portia's apology was genuine and says we have to watch what happens after that. And then it ends off with her making this statement. Whatever you hear. I ain't correcting shit. That's it. Whatever it is that you got, you got. You just gotta watch the show so you can get the truth. When asked if she wants to clear anything up. Oh, so that was her response to if she was going to clear anything up. So, okay, Miss Pinky Cole. I forgot to say this. On Watch What Happens Live, Maury was there. I remember someone posting a picture of Pinky being a producer of Maury, and he showed up to do a lie detector test with her to say that she's 100% vegan. I thought that was actually like really cute. Like actually very adorable. So let's talk about Ralph and Drew. Honestly, I am sick of hearing about this divorce. We have reached dark territory, child abuse. And at this point, all I want to hear when it comes to Ralph and Drew is, you know, the divorce is finalized and they no longer live in the house together. And there is a co-parenting plan. I'm sick of hearing about this, okay? But this was posted by TMZ on April the 23rd, and it says this: RHOA's Drew Sidora accused ex-Ralph of beating their son. He denies the allegations. It says Real Housewives of Atlanta star Drew Sidora dropped a bombshell abuse claim about her estranged husband, Ralph Pittman, as part of their bitter divorce, TMZ has learned. According to court documents obtained by TMZ, Drew made the case for the judge presiding over the divorce to reconsider the decision, ordering the reality star to vacate the Georgia home she shares with Ralph by the end of next month. Drew told the court she didn't have the funds to move and would be homeless unless the decision was reversed. As TMZ first reported, a judge awarded Ralph primary custody of the two kids after a recent hearing in which Ralph blamed Drew for one of their kids having excessive tardiness for school. Drew said she previously submitted evidence, a video in which Ralph could be heard severely beating the party's son. She said Ralph admitted to the beating in 2024 but denied it at the hearing in March of 2026. She again takes issue with being ordered to be out of the home by next month and also claims Ralph admitted they are $25,000 behind on mortgage payments. The RHOA star said she's confused as to why the courts ruled in Ralph's favor when he has a documented history of physically abusing the party's son. We reached out to Ralph's reps who had no comment on the matter. The court has yet to rule on Drew's most recent plea. So like I said, all I want to hear about Ralph and Drew is that their divorce is finalized at this point, because this is getting dark. And I don't know what kind of lawyers Drew has, but they suck. Because if you had this evidence already, why not this be at the top of the list as to why you needed a divorce and why he should not have been in that house in the first place? Like, things are not really adding up for me when it comes to this situation. Like, could I see Ralph doing this? Yeah, I could. Ralph, to me, is like 3 arguments away from like clicking out on somebody. And the way that he speaks to Drew is very demeaning and condescending and abusive. So I could see him turning that energy towards their children, especially Josiah, who is not his biologically. So, I mean, I could see it, but then I'm also looking at Drew like, did this situation happen in 2024 when you presented evidence, or did it happen before you got not got a divorce, but filed for a divorce? It's like I got so many questions, and neither one of them look like good people to me right now. Neither Ralph or Drew are very reliable narrators to me. It's just, ugh. I don't like it. I just hope the kids are okay. But it looks like Drew's petition to stay in the house did not go through because the judge basically said, girl, you got to be out by May the 31st, you and your son. So it says, unfortunate news as TMZ reporting that the judge has denied Drew Sidora's motion to reverse his decision that Drew would have to be out of the marital home by the end of May. That sucks. So the last thing we're going to talk about as it pertains to Drew is this revelation of text messages that were revealed. It says Drew Sidora alleged texts to ex-Ralph revealed claims she paid him half of her RHOA checks, which is stupid. It says Drew Sidora claims she paid her estranged husband, Ralph Pittman, half of her Real Housewives of Atlanta checks during their marriage, TMZ has learned. TMZ obtained alleged texts between Drew and Ralph that were submitted as evidence in their ongoing divorce battle. As TMZ first reported, the judge presiding over the case ordered Drew to vacate the home by next month. Drew claims she will be homeless and does not have the funds to find another home at this time. She is begging the courts to reconsider. As a part of her plea, Drew included texts that she believes helps makes her case. One alleged text dated April the 13th, 2026, Drew wrote to her ex, I most definitely cannot afford $9,000 of household expenses at this time. She continues on. Are you going to pay half of the groceries as well as half of the kids' expenses for the month? She asked. Ralph added, good morning. I believe this is very generous as you haven't contributed anything towards the home for a number of years. Your attorney should be advising you, but if you don't pay, you will be in contempt, Ralph warned. And then Drew responded by saying, Ralph, how can you say I haven't given you money towards the house in years? I've given you 50% of my money from Real Housewives, and all along you were getting paid directly from Bravo as well. I gave you 50% of my endorsement deals. Girl, oh my God, Drew, and my movies. Let's talk about how you took $300,000 out of my money I was receiving personally. On April the 14th, Drew wrote, you have done the ultimate betrayal and tried to destroy me as their mom, defame my character, career, and brand, and me as a human being time and time again. So please just focus on what's best for the kids moving forward. In response, Ralph scoffed at Drew's claim she would be homeless if forced to leave their home. He said, you can no longer hide and don't want people to see you for who you really are. All the lies you told are being cleared without me doing anything. You're a terrible person, and I pray you work on your spirit. It continues on. Don't try to act like you want to be a mom now. It's too late, Ralph added. He added, you're too delusional to even understand what's happening. Try praying for yourself. Drew said, you got banished from church for trying to date a politician's daughter, you loser. My mom and I tried to save you, but only God can save you now. I pray you repent. I tried to date a politician's daughter, and you and your mom tried to save me, Ralph said with a laughing emoji. Watch when you get your attorney bill, you're really going to be feeling like a loser, he said with another clown emoji. That's a mess. That is a mess. They should not be talking to each other directly. It's too contentious. They should only be talking through a third party. But I feel like Drew is not being honest about not being able to afford a place to stay. Now, are you going to be able to afford a house the size that you're living in now? No, but potentially you can definitely find a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment or townhouse in Atlanta that is feasible for you and your son to live in. And I genuinely hope Drew decides to get better representation because this is wild. But that's all I got for you guys today. As always, remember to be bravely authentic. Make sure you comment and like the video. Subscribe to the channel. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.